Shalom, shalom, Mishpachah. We just down here fixing dinner, and dinner today is going to be grits and eggs. So don't say anything about grits and eggs for dinner. I'm from the South, and you can eat grits and eggs anytime in the South. But shalom, shalom, Mishpachah. I wanted to do a theory of everything while I had an opportunity to on the book of Judges. And this won't be a long theory of everything. I just wanted to go over some of the things that we've already kind of went over about Judges, because we've really done the Judges before in bits and pieces through different videos that I already have posted. So really the only things that I wanted to say about the book of Judges and the Judges themselves is how they, this is theory of everything, 19, judgment, right? So the book of Judges is set up through a continuation of the law system that Moses put in place. We all know that Jethro encouraged Moses to set up captains of tens and captains of hundreds and captains of 50s, so that a lot of the judgment issues would be dissembled across multiple people instead of everyone just coming to Moses and seeing what Moses would rule. And we know from this point here, we really have a system of judges set up. So what we know of the natural, Elohim-based law is that it's based on a system of judges. And so what you look at what you have in America, do you have anything different from that? Of course, you have the Supreme Court, which is judges in itself, but you have the legislative branch, and then you have the executive branch. The executive branch and the legislative branch do a lot of legislation, of course, and make executive decisions, but it's really the Supreme Court which dictates law going forth, because their decisions, their rulings will become law for later applications of this law to go back and say, hey, when this Supreme Court ruled on this issue, it ruled in this favor. So that then becomes precedent, that becomes law. So all that entire system comes from a biblical understanding of a judge-based system, where the law in your nation is disseminated and interpreted in an individual basis, and those individual rulings become a part of the law. This is the way that Israel has done things for a very, very long time, even with notes in the text as to the rulings of specific judges, later on down the line. And if you'll forgive me, I forgot what those textual marginal notations are called, but there's a whole field of study that's based on them, on different scribes and different rabbis and different biblical teachers on through the years commenting on these different laws in the text. So, not getting off topic here, the book of Judges is 7 judges. They all come up in times of desperation and captivity, when Israel has fallen into harsh times because of their wickedness. That whenever a judge dies, we know the cycle, right? We talked about the cycle before of wickedness, captivity, a cry out of captivity. Yah raises a deliverer, which the book of Judges calls a Mashiach. That Mashiach delivers Israel. Israel rules autonomously and righteously for the lifetime of the judge. And then the judge dies and the people return into sin. So we know that cycle. That cycle is etched in biblical history. It's etched in black history, right? Because we know biblical history and black history are one and the same. This is not Black History Month, but don't let yourself get pigeonholed into talking about black history 1 month in the year. So what we understand about Judges and about the book of Judges, number one, that the entire American system is built upon it. Why else do you swear on a Bible when you go to testify in a court? Because they know that's where this system comes from, right? Two, that the biblical judges system really mimics the cyclical, captivity and freedom and redemption model that the Messiah offers as well to the entire world. And I say the entire world, really those who are following Messiah through Israel, through keeping the commandments, not following the false Messiah. We know Jesus being the false Messiah, false name, false doctrine, false race even, which is a controversial topic, but it's true. When you look up a picture of Jesus, you're not going to have nothing. You're not going to have anything that resembles, what he actually looked like, who he actually was, and what he actually stood for. Like no part of it. So we know that the actual Messiah had a real name, Yahushua, but he was black. He was an Israelite. So that means he was black. He was from the tribe of Judah. And he sacrificed himself for the sins of the people to be redeemed in his kingdom at the end of the world, right? According to Daniel, according to the whole Bible, right? So we know that the Mashiach system in the book of Judges is a picture, a model of the coming Messiah. That this story that the book of Judges details over and over and over again with all kind of Deborah, Othniel, Yaphtha, Samson, all of these different judges, right? That judged over Israel. It mirrors the Messiah's journey, with our people. So every time you look at the book of Judges, you can't really see anything except Messiah, 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 7 times, right? And that's an important thing to recognize, because if you don't know that you're in that cycle, if you don't know that you're in that judgment cycle, then you don't know how to get out of it really either. And then you just continue in the captivity phase. See, that's why we are the way we are now, because we don't know that we're still in the captivity phase and that we need salvation. Do you know what I mean? People are still crying in America. And here's the deal, too. You have a lot of, talk about leaving America. You have a lot of discussion in the black community, about what should be done with America. So there's a lot of evidence coming out now that a lot of the Israelite people were already in America, right? That there were what they called Indian tribes that were not Indian tribes. They were black, and they were Hebrew-speaking tribes that got mixed in with the slaves that came over on the slave ships from West Africa. And so a lot of information is coming out about that, and a lot of it's, on point, accurate, right? We know that Christopher Columbus brought Hebrew speakers with him when he came here. We know that there are elements of local, I say here, I mean America, we're in West Africa. We know that there are elements of Hebrew characters and understanding in lots of Indian folklore. Even in the area that I'm at, there's an Indian. His name is Sequoia, right? There's even a nuclear plant in the area, Sequoia nuclear plant, named in his honor. So where did he come up with this Yah at the end of his name? Exactly like Hebrews, right? So we know that influence is there. And it's there in Indian tribes as well. But people don't take into consideration that there are different Indian tribes made up of different ethnicities, right? All living in the same area. And so that's what you're dealing with there. You've got 2 different groups here coming together in a way that was very similar to the time of Ezra, that happened during the time of Ezra as well. So people are saying now, since this information is coming out, and I'm going a long way to make this point here, that, we shouldn't leave America, that America is our land, and we should fight for it. And if it's something that they stole from us too, then we deserve those same type of reparations that the Indians get. We deserve to be able to live free in our indigenous land, which is what they say. But what they don't understand is that you're not really indigenous there anyway, because your land is Israel. and that you have no land. You are a stranger and a pilgrim on this earth, and that there's no land that you can go to that will be called yours until you get back to Israel. Even here in West Africa, you have to understand that this is still not your land, and that you are still a stranger here as well. You know, everybody here is nice and friendly, and we all look the same, and a lot of Ghanaian people are Hebrews too, right? But you do have to understand that there is not a difference, but nationality here does matter. So even if you're Hebrew or not in Ghana, you may still have Ghanaian pride, and thus, a calling or a longing for your people. In the same way that Americans in the diaspora might group up together and say, oh, well, I like to be around my people. So with all that being said, we understand that you don't have a place or a land that you can fight for because you've been expelled out of your land, right? That's the judgment that has come upon this people, that they're not in their land, that they don't have a stable system of laws and judges that they can rely upon. They have to rely upon others, right? We haven't had our own system of laws and judges in place, for on record. We had it in Timbuktu maybe, but all the way going back to the first century. Other than that, we've been living and existing under other people's governments, not just with a Herod or a Felix or whoever in charge, right, to see over us, or a Pontius Pilate to see over us, but, kings ourselves, but besides that, we don't even have that now. We don't have our own system of governance beyond, city councilors. You know what I mean? It's just not an American reality. Not anymore, So what we have to understand is that this cycle of judgment and punishment that you see in the book of Judges is prophetic. Because if it continues to happen then, it should be continuing to happen to some group of people somewhere right now. And we know for a fact that it's our people in America, the Hebraic people, the hidden black Jews of America. We are currently in the captivity phase of this book of Judges cycle. Can we go over the cycle one more time? We have freedom, because it does start with freedom. Yahushua ben Nun leads the children of Israel, our ancestors, into freedom, right? It starts with freedom, right? Well, you can say it starts with freedom. Maybe it starts with captivity. We're starting here with freedom. Okay, you have freedom. Then you have the judge judging in freedom. You have the judge die. You have the people return to wickedness. You have the people return to captivity or go into captivity. Then in captivity, they cry out to Yah. Yah raises up a deliverer. The deliverer delivers them. The Mashiach, the book of Judges calls it, delivers them. They live in peace and in freedom for the life of the judge. And then they go back into sin. And then they go back into captivity. This is the book of Judges cycle. This is the same cycle that we're in Black America, hidden Jews of America, right now. And so in order to come out of this cycle, you do need a deliverer. And our deliverer is Yahushua ben Elohim. Not Yahushua ben Nun, Yahushua ben Elohim. All right? This has been Theory of Everything 19, the book of Judges, Judgment. Shalom, shalom.